Hi everyone. So today I wanted to tell you about Laravel application. So in this video, I wanted to tell you what's the difference between roots and the controller. So the roots is basically it's for creating an URL. It can be get, pause, update, delete, or anything that will go to a specific function that you created in the controller. So the root is basically routes you to a function that you created in controllers. So for example, we can create a controller here using this artisan command, PHP artisan make controller, and I will call it the user controller. And then we can specify the root, for example, like this. I want to make the root as a pause method. So we basically wanted to store data to our database. And in this video, the database already set up. And if you want to know how to configure the database, you can comment down below and I will create the video for you. And since we created the controller's name user controller, so we need to define the library of this user controller. So we just click Control and space here, and it will automatically search for the user controller and uh, define it here. Use app HTTP controllers user controller, and it will route us to the user controller. And what we have here is actually the URL. So our URL is create dash user, and the function that we want to create is create user. Since in this video I'll show you how to create user. Okay, so we have the function name create user, and then we go to the user controller and we just create the function public function create user, and we use request and request. So this request is to handle all the data that the users input. It can be from the front end, or in this video I'll use a postman as the testing. Okay, and then we have specified the users, and then what we want to create is the user database. So we check here in the user database, the value that we need to input is the name, email, and password. Since this one is nullable, so we don't need to specify the email verified type. And I have already created the models here. The fillable value is name, email, and password. And so I need to get the email, name, and password to insert it to our database. So what we can do is create user equals to, we use the models here, user, so user, and then create, since we want to create, and then we input the data that we want to put here in the user. So it's name, and what is name? Name is coming from the request, so request name. And then we do the same thing for the email and password. So here is email, and then password. And same like before, we need to define the user's model to this controller. Just control space and put the user model. And now we need to make sure if it's insert correctly. So if create user, so what do we want to do if the user successfully create? I'll put something from here. So if we successfully create user, we put a response, and we change this to, let's say the message is success, and then the response is HTTP OK, which is referring to 200. Okay, and then what happen if it's fail? If it's fail, then we just copy the response, we put fail, and for example I put HTTP that request. Okay, now since we already created the function, we can just run the PHP artisan serve to run the backend. Okay, now the server is running in this local host, so we just copy this one and we go into our postman and we paste it here, and then dash API dash create user, which we created here, right? We need to put dash API because I write it in the roots API. So we dash API dash create user, and we put the value name user 2, and in the email user2 password test123, and then we make sure it is paused, and then we just send. Okay, now the response is success 200, which means our user created successfully, and we can check here in our database. Okay, now the user 2 is here, so we have successfully created the user 2. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you.